Thanks, Breed. Good afternoon, everybody. And so I'm going to try to give you a very quick, brief overview on um, how you can get selling online. And the thing with this is that selling online isn't complicated. It isn't. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be a lot of things. It just It's just really a way of just selling your products and your services. So Black Knight, as you may know, we're a web hosting company, and we also provide email and a lot of other services. And you can read a bit about me. Of course, these slides will be shared afterwards. So at the moment, as you all know, we're all going through this rather odd period where things are just not normal. So I think a lot of smaller businesses have had to change how they do business, and many of you may have started exploring or starting to sell some of your products and services online. The key thing here is that people do business with other people. They buy from businesses that they trust. They'll buy products and services that they want and that they need. You don't need to be absolutely perfect. What you need to do is to kind of focus on what it is that you do well, which I hope is running your business. So what do you need for that? Let's start with the basics. You should have your own domain name. That then can be like the home for your business, for your products, for your services. And then you obviously need somewhere for that to live. So you need hosting, and that can also include things for your email, for your website, and of course your online store if you have one. Sometimes you'll find that there's packages available where like you're going to get some kind of site builder or an e-commerce solution, and that might include the website hosting as well. An SSL certificate, that one, the secure certificate, very, very important. They're not that expensive these days. They're pretty cheap, actually. That's very important so that people's data, their information is more secure. It's not being sent in plain text across the internet, because that's very, very dangerous. And of course, you need a way to be able to get paid. With the website itself, don't overthink this. It doesn't have to be hundreds and hundreds of pages. It doesn't have to have all sorts of technical functionality. It just needs to work. But things you need to remember, who are you? Tell people who you are. Explain to them what you do, what it is that you're selling, and why they should buy from you. Why your product or service is worth getting, and why it's worth getting from you. And the other thing as well is, because it's the internet, it's the internet's a great equalizer. You can be a small business or a big business, and you can still do business online, but you need to build up a level of trust. So things like having your Guaranteed Irish logo on there, maybe if you're a member of a local chamber of commerce, maybe you have some kind of certification. These are all little indicators you can add to your website to make the consumer feel that little bit more comfortable that they're doing business with a real company, a real business that's actually going to deliver the goods or the services. Now, there's two ways you can go about this. You can do it yourself, which require a little bit of technical skill, not a huge amount, because the tools that are available these days are much more user-friendly. As long as you can operate a computer, you're good to go. Or you can hire a designer. Now, the costs, again, are going to vary massively. Obviously, if you do it yourself, you can get the entire thing go up and running for a couple of €100. If you go down the route of getting designers and everything involved, it can get a lot more expensive very, very quickly. So for those of you who are just starting out, I would say maybe the DIY route might work out a bit better. And don't forget, you've got to also market it. Just having a website on the internet does not mean that you're going to get any sales. You have to spend a bit of time, energy, and effort getting the message out there. Obviously, social media is available to you. And you can also do paid advertising on the likes of Google, Facebook, Twitter, and a bunch of other places. Again, this will depend a lot on what kind of products and services you're selling. So, again, what are you selling? This is going to be the core thing. If it's a physical product, if you haven't been selling that directly up until now, you're going to have to work out how you're going to get that to the consumer. If it's a service, how are you going to deliver that? Do you need to change how you're actually providing that service? I mean, if for example, if it's some kind of consultation, you could do it using a platform like Zoom or Microsoft Teams. There's a lot of different products and services out there that can help you to still actually have that kind of face-to-face type setup without actually being in the same building with somebody. But obviously the most important thing about any business sale is getting paid. Without the money, there's no point. Again, this does not have to be particularly complicated. But those of you who already have a functioning business, you might have a merchant account with one of the banks already. If you don't, there's a number of options available to you, and those options, and it's all going to be down to what you're most comfortable with. Quick and easy is setting up a PayPal account. You can do that in a couple of minutes, and then if you're to get it validated as a business account, they're just going to ask you to provide a bit of proof about who you are, what the business is. There's online payment solutions like Stripe, which again, very, very easy to set up. And of course, ultimately, there's also the option of letting people pay you by wire transfer, though obviously that is not as secure. And I wouldn't recommend shipping products to people you don't know until you've actually been paid. So the other thing as well is, that at the simplest level, it might mean that you're just emailing a customer a link to make that payment. So like in platforms like PayPal, you can do that. You can just go in and you can create a kind of a request payment type link. Obviously, if you're using some kind of e-commerce solution, it'll do that more. That'll do it better for you. But if you just want a quick and dirty solution, PayPal will work really, really well. One of the other things that is crucial when you're selling online is communication. So if letting people know, how long it's going to take you to ship that product. Are you going to be able to ship it within a day, within 2 or 3 days? Maybe it might take a week, especially if it's custom made or something like that. And how long it's going to take for that product to actually reach the customer. It's ultimately, when it comes down to the successful businesses, providing a good level of customer service and a good customer experience is the difference between a business that succeeds and one that fails. So just making sure that you're setting those expectations. So when somebody sends in an order, letting them know, yes, you've got the order, yes, you've got the payment. If there's a delay, if there's a problem, letting them know about it. Don't go silent. Don't go dark, because then people just think, that, they're never going to get that product or whatever. Again, just repeating what I said before, it's all about being real. I mean, like Breed and I have been talking about this a bit over the last couple of weeks. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are looking to buy local. They'll buy a product or a service from a local company if they know that company can sell it to them. If you're not making it available to sell, there's no way for the person to buy it from you. They don't, at the moment, things are very strange. We know that's probably overused as a term, but at the moment, especially, I think people are going to be a little bit more forgiving about how you sell online. So obviously, the better you do it, the better for everybody. But if it's not absolutely perfect at the moment, people will be a little bit more forgiving. And of course, the other thing as well is, once you've got that revenue coming in, you can iterate, you can make things, you can improve on it, you can invest more in that. Now, bear in mind, I mean, when you're looking at building out an online presence, the costs here, they're just to give you an idea. Like say, registering a domain name, that's going to cost you maybe between 6 and 20 euro a year or something like that. Basic website hosting, you're talking probably between 50 and 100 or so euro a year to start with. E-commerce functionality, companies such as ourselves, we offer services there, which is probably going to cost you another 100 euro or so a year. So, I mean, you can have a fully functioning online shop for under 300 or 400 euro. And obviously, the more you spend, the more you invest in it, then the better you can add other features to it. But remember that again, it's all about telling your story about what it is that your product, what your service is, and why people should do that. So things like, if you're selling a physical product, make sure you have photographs of the product, and that people can actually see what it is that you're selling. I mean, the other things to consider, again, talking about, like, say, marketing your product or service, just getting that message out there. Depending again on what it is that you're selling, you can use different platforms. Some of them are free, in inverted commas, because nothing's completely free. You can share links with your friends, get your family and colleagues to kind of spread the message about, that you're open for business and that you're now selling online. So I've gone through that at a very, 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 very quickly, and it's very high level. So I think it's probably best if I leave this open for questions from Breed or from anybody else.
Thanks very much, Michaeli. And I'm taking questions from anybody who wants to field them, so feel free to send in. I have a few myself for you, Michaeli, if we can. Based on the experience of our own members of Guaranteed Irish, who are on the smaller end and have not yet got online, I think they'll be delighted to welcome the affordability of getting online in terms of e-commerce. I think what people who meant to get online many years ago and never got around to it, and now we're being forced onto it, are concerned a little bit about security. So can you talk us a little bit about the SSL and the whole security piece there again, if you wouldn't mind?
Sure. So security, security, when you're talking about security, you're talking about both security of the actual website itself, and then more importantly, it's about securing the details from your customers and the payments. So when you're using something like PayPal or Stripe or one of those systems for handling the payments, you don't have to worry about that security. They look after that for you. So you're not actually handling the credit card information. You're not storing it. That's being handled completely over there. But when the kind of security around the actual website and all that, and the e-commerce thing, if you use one of the platforms that companies like ourselves offer, we look after that for you. So you don't have to develop a massive migraine about this. But still, at the same time, it's something people do need just to keep at the back of their minds. I mean, ultimately, if it's your website, if it's your web shop, you can't just wash your hands of it. But it shouldn't be a big headache. It's something that these days is much easier to do. Like, we offer a website builder tool that is really easy to use, and when you just plug in the e-commerce aspect there, all of that is handled for you. So it's okay. Very straightforward.
Okay, and another question I have here is in relation to the brand. I suppose in terms of creating a space, and for the smaller businesses, again, a lot of companies work off Facebook pages or Instagram pages, and they sell that way, or Pinterest, etc. In terms of the brand, is it important really to have a good, strong brand, a presence of how your image and your look and feel and your style of your business is presented on the website?
I would go further than that. I would say it's more than just a brand. It's also a personality. I mean, there's, if people, the difference between one company selling soap, for example, and another company selling soap. I mean, it's soap. You wash your hands with it. But when you look at the way you know, some of the way that some of the different companies, like some of the Irish companies, are making soap, position themselves. They build an entire story around that, and that's something that goes across all the platforms. You know, in the case of ourselves, you know, we have the logo, we have the kind of the horse's head. We've used various other things over the years, and you know, we've tried to maintain a level of consistency across everywhere that our brand is being presented. But I suppose the bigger thing is that if you have your own domain name and your own website, you control that. So how it looks, how it feels, what kind of story it's telling is something that you can control. Whereas if you're relying solely on Facebook or Instagram, you're at the mercy of those big platforms. They can change how they display things. They can decide that, you know, that your business for whatever reason is no longer, you know, welcome there. So using Facebook and all the other social media outlets, I think, is great as part of your marketing mix, but it shouldn't be the only route to market for you.
I actually agree with that. And I've seen that happen where obviously Instagram is now owned by Facebook and the rules have changed. So I think be seller beware as well as buyer beware. And also I find on the Instagram and the Facebook, just as an FYI for people out there, a lot of the responses are very casual, colloquial, and bad spelling, gives a really bad image in terms of the brand for the business. Whereas the website is a little bit more formal and it gives a little bit more of a professional edge. I have a good question here for you in relation to GDPR policy. In terms of a cookie GDPR policy pop-up, is there a third party you can recommend for a plugin?
So there's a load of them out there. So it depends on what you're running your website on. So if you're using WordPress, there must be 500 plus cookie plugins available out there. Ourselves, we switched over to using a paid solution from a company called Termly, which is term.ly, I think. And one of the reasons we did that was because they actually scan the website for you and automatically kind of populate that entire thing about, you know, which cookies are you are setting. And, you know, if you're doing quite a lot of online advertising and marketing, all of those different advertising networks want to set different cookies. If you're using, you know, HubSpot for marketing, Twitter want to drop a pixel. You know, there's all these different ones, and you need to be able to capture all of that in your cookie consent and be able to give the user the option of, you know, functional tracking, advertising, all of those things, and give them that good user experience. So we've switched over to that, but again, there's a lot of different ones out there. And you know, if you might find that if you're on a particular platform, you might find that the easiest one to do is just to drop one in. I mean, as long as you're doing something, and you're giving people some level of clarity about what you're doing with the cookies, I wouldn't lose too much sleep over it. Straight up, there's much bigger issues that I see on Irish websites these days, to be honest with you.
Michaela, if I can ask another question. Some of the bigger companies, so not quite more operating off Facebook or Insta and to move and migrate over to their own website, but maybe more medium-sized companies up to 50, 100 employees working for them, where they have a cross-section of different brands and different product lines. Sometimes you'll find companies with different brands or different lines of product who are completely unrelated in terms of their look and feel and how they present themselves, and have different stories to them, and they live quite harmoniously on the one website. Is it important that they stress that they have a relationship between each other, and that they're also pushing their Irishness on the website at the moment? And I'm going to preface that by saying the reason I'm asking this question, which is for me, we've had unprecedented inquiries from just Joe Blogs consumers, not members, who are saying, you know, I'm ringing you, you're in Guaranteed Irish, or I'm emailing you. We're in a pandemic, we want to support local. They're really conscious consumers, and they're saying, where can I find an Irish company to buy my product from? And they're seeking out Irish. How important is it for companies who various different brands to, I suppose, overlay it with their Irish brand association?
I think I've always thought that it was really important. I mean, prior to any of this, I always thought that, like, for us as a company, you know, the services we offer are offered by many companies around the world. And, you know, the way we've always worked on kind of differentiating ourselves was by having a slightly different personality and focusing on different aspects of that. And part of that, I think something we've always been very proud of is that we are an Irish company. We're wholly Irish owned. So we've always pushed that out in our messaging where appropriate. Now more than ever for a lot of these businesses, I mean, you need to have that identity. And I think, you know, the Guaranteed Irish mark is a really good way of doing that. But it's not just putting the mark on the web page. I mean, it's things like letting people know where you're from. I mean, if you're based up in Donegal and you're making a really nice product, or you're a butcher and I don't know, you've got organic meat, and you've got some other wonderful product. I mean, that's a very important part of the story of the brand. That it's the reasons why it all feeds into the reasons why that somebody would actually choose you over an anonymous chain. I mean, you know, when you go to buy certain products, you've got choice. You can go to a faceless Fortune 500 style company, or you can go to a much smaller producer. And, you know, you've probably seen that meme going around about, you know, when you buy from a small business, you're helping to support the local economy. You're not helping the CEO to buy a third Porsche or something. And I think now more than ever, there's a great kind of community willingness and interest in helping to support the local economy. But we have to do our bit as well. We can't expect people to batter down our doors. We need to make sure that our door is open and that we're making it easy for them to do that, to buy the stuff from us.
Absolutely. And some of the feedback we've received from other organizations is please promote the Guaranteed Irish, or whatever symbol you want to use, but particularly, I suppose, from our perspective, Guaranteed Irish on your website. And people are, up till now, and we've been quite happy with this, that people would have it on the footer. But really you need to put it on your header, where people seeing, the minute they get online, they're saying, this is Irish, I want to support it, particularly if your consumers are Irish based. Another question there in relation to an example is I've been furnished this one as a quick, a really easy website to use, and I ask you to take this down. It's tiptoptoes.ie. It's a small little shoe shop. Tiptoptoes.ie. It's an example of a website that was built using a DIY tool, and the total cost to the consumer is €140 ex VAT, and it was Black Knight who provided it with them. So it's just a really good example. tiptoptoes.ie, a simple.ie website. It gets the guy who's selling shoes in a shop to be able to sell them online. So post-COVID, when all the shops open, please God, the idea is that we'll still be trading and buying online as well, and they'll sit hand in glove with each other. So that's really important, I think. In relation to that, I think the competition is out there across all our platforms at the moment, and to celebrate Black Knight becoming a sponsor on our podcast. So do look at that and apply for that. And look, I really encourage everybody to get online in some shape or form, be it just for trading, and if it's not even for trading, in terms of controlling your brand and your messaging and the rules that you apply around your own business. Michele, thanks very much for that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if there's any further questions, please feel free to send them to us and we'll forward them to Black Knight. As always, we've recorded and we'll share the slides with our members. And next week, our Guaranteed Irish Business webinar will be by Fergal O'Connor from Buy Media. Fergal is the owner of Buy Media, and it's Media in Lockdown. What's next? Opportunities for brave businesses. So it's about effective buying of media so that it's more cost effective, and what what to buy when we're a little bit cash strapped. So I think we'll all be interested in looking at that. And from me in Guaranteed Irish and all the team, that's it this week. We're over and out.